about 18 months ago that God started stirring in me the dream of a new church or new churches. Not so much that Jax and I would be leaving Anthem, but rather that there would be new communities of faith in the Anthem story. It was about a year ago that I was talking with a friend who leads a church in the US, and he passed the comment about not only planting churches, but about preserving churches. And I felt like the Holy Spirit just really spoke to me in that moment, and my eyes became open to not only the possibility of planting, but also preserving. It was shortly thereafter that I got approached to ask whether we would consider leading a church called Riverside in Westville. I wanted to hear a word from God to know that this wasn't just a strategic move, but something that God was in and the Holy Spirit was birthing in us. And he took me to Acts chapter 16, verses 13 to 15, where it talks about Paul going down to the riverside where he assumed there would be a community of faith. And that community impressed upon him to stay, and so he stayed. And it was in that moment that we felt that all of the past 18 months through to today came into alignment. That there was the birthing of a new church or a new community in the Anthem story. There was the preservation of an existing church, and it was to be this church called Riverside that he was calling us to. And so now we're at this point in the juncture where we get to announce to you that we will be taking on the leadership of a church called Riverside, which will become part of the Anthem story into the future.
As part of the pastoral team here at Anthem, John and I have said yes to pastoring the Riverside community in Westville, and we are super excited.
That's right, we have felt this community of believers growing in our hearts over the last few months since we have said yes, and we feel incredibly humbled, incredibly privileged, and incredibly excited to see what God has for a new community of believers in the Anthem story. So we are not leaving Anthem, we're not leaving you guys, we're not leaving Rich and Jax, we are simply extending the Anthem family to a new community of believers, and we can't wait to see what God has for them in the Anthem story. We want to invite you to join us in praying for that community of believers in Westville.
And so we also want to invite you to the handover, which happens on the 5th of December, and we will get details to you soon.